Good evening and welcome to Sports Hour on WNYF. I'm Matt Volz. I'm joined by Jack Hoadley tonight for our special Halloween episode. It is spooky season. That is the reason for the graphic behind us. And we're going to talk about the NFL from last week and some interesting games. A couple of close ones, a couple of upsets. But you know, overall an interesting week as this season continues to unfold.
Yeah, a couple interesting scores and a scary, boring 1 o'clock window.
Yep.
What do we got?
Yeah, so the first game that we go into, the Thursday night game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals quarterback problems have been showing their ugly head all season. Of course, since Joe Burrow went down with an injury at the beginning of the year, the Bengals turned to backup quarterback Jake Browning, who struggled this year. So the Bengals made a trade with a division rival, acquiring 40-year-old Joe Flacco from the Cleveland Browns. And Flacco leads the Bengals to a 33-31 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers last Thursday night. Flacco has played for every team in the AFC North except for the Steelers. A little bit of a revenge game, Jack. He's played so many games against the Steelers in his career from all those years he played with the Ravens and the last couple with the Browns. And Flacco somehow continues to keep wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, it feels like Joe Flacco's career is going to be defined by one signature win every season for these next couple years, and then he joins a new team and will just keep doing it again. I'd put a lot of money on him joining the Steelers at some point in his career because they love old quarterbacks, and he definitely fits that bill. But no, a great game from him, phenomenal game from Ja'Marr Chase, proving why he's still probably a top 2 wide receiver in the NFL. I'd still have Justin Jefferson over him, just because sometimes Ja'Marr Chase tends to disappear.
Yeah.
Last Thursday, he did not. He was quite locked in. He had 16 catches for 161 yards and a score. Did well for a lot of fantasy teams, which we like.
Mine included, yes.
Yes, after a weak start to the year. But yeah, no, it was a great game for Cincinnati Bengals fans. But I don't think as a Steelers fan you're worried at all.
No, I don't think so. I mean, overall, you look at Pittsburgh, you're still 4-2. And those AFC North games a lot of times tend to be very close, very competitive. This is a little bit higher scoring than we're used to seeing from some of those AFC North games. You think of those as a lot of real smash-mouth football, defensive-oriented. But a good win for the Bengals as they try to keep their season afloat, even without Joe Burrow.
Absolutely, yeah, and like you said, normally a defensive division, but you saw it last year with the game in the snow where Jameis Winston threw for like 400 yards, and I think 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
Jerry Jeudy had like 200 receiving yards. It's like the yearly weird Steelers game where they lose to a team that's like they're probably way better than. I think it's fine. You're still 4-2. They look very competent with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. In my eyes, is shocking. I didn't think that this was going to be a good year for them, but you know, with Joe Burrow going down, with the Browns being the Browns, and a 1-5 start from Baltimore, I think that you could still say that this is their division to lose.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, they're off to a good enough start, and like you said, the Browns are the Browns. The Ravens, after the start that they've had, if this continues, I know Lamar Jackson did return to practice this week, but not sure if he's going to play or not on Sunday, and we'll talk more about the Ravens later, but it really kind of does feel like it might be Pittsburgh's division. So the rest of the games from last week, we had a beat down in the early morning game in London. 5 touchdown passes for one of my 2 fantasy football quarterbacks, Matt Stafford, as the Rams obliterate the Jacksonville Jaguars in their annual home London game. And at this point, they should just move there. The Rams win it 35-7. Rams are 5-2 on the season, and Jacksonville got off to a really good start. I believe they were 4-1 and have now lost back-to-back. So is Jacksonville, do you think that they were a team that maybe not quite as good as they were at the start of the year or just a couple of tough losses?
Yeah, this is a game that humbled me as kind of a Jacksonville believer. I'm a big fan of Travis Hunter. I think that the people that think that he's only a good corner and only a good... No, he's really good at both, and I think he can play both in the NFL. So I'm a big fan of his. He had a great game, but yeah, this was disappointing from the Jaguars as Matt Stafford, if in case you had any doubts, shows that he still has it.
Yep.
And yeah, I was especially disappointed in that Jaguars defense, and then obviously Trevor Lawrence. I'm a big believer in him, but he just, I mean, you can't even complete 50% of your passes. This is a game where the Jaguars are normally considered the home team. Mm-hmm. They are. If London had an NFL team, it would be the Jaguars.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just a disappointing loss. I'm not sure who they have this week, but you hope for a bounce back because at 4-3, you're still all right. But the Colts are starting to run away with that division.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Jacksonville is on a bye next week, which is much needed for them, not only traveling back from London, but also after the 2 losses that they're coming off of. Few other games in the 1 o'clock window. Again, kind of a ho-hum, nothing crazy. 1 o'clock window. The Chicago Bears, though, win their 4th straight, a 26-14 win over the New Orleans Saints. Bears are 4-2 on the season. Jack, you mentioned to me before the show started, you don't think the Bears are for real.
No, I don't know. Something about him. I don't think it's necessarily a Caleb Williams issue. I think it more lies in the defense because this is a team that we are quick to forget started out 0-2 after allowing 51 to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
I really think that defense, and Dennis Allen is the coordinator, even though he played well against his former team, not saying much since that team is 1-6.
Right.
I think that this is a good win in a game that they should have won, but I'd be cautious as a Bears fan going forward because you want to see a little more. I'm a fan of Caleb Williams, but with Rome Odunze kind of not playing up to his standard recently, it's a little worrying because I don't think DeAndre Swift is going to be this hot throughout the rest of the season. Like, he has been on fire running the ball, and they had a really good game. He had the Saints had a really good game, and then he also did 124 yards and a touchdown, which is really nice to see from him. Someone who I thought wasn't that great going into the year is actually turning out to be very good. So it's a good win for the Bears, but I'm a little cautious going forward, especially getting Baltimore off the bye.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think the Bears are a team that they're looking for their first ever 4,000-yard passer. They've never had anybody throw for 4,000 yards in a season. Caleb Williams could be that guy, but again, I kind of agree. I would approach the Bears with caution, especially because you're in a division with the Packers and the Lions, who are both excellent teams. I'd be pretty cautious about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, another team that suffered a loss last week, another 1-6 team, made me very happy. The Miami Dolphins. Oh boy, are they in a rough spot. The Cleveland Browns run all over and beat them 31-6.
I know they beat them head-to-head, but I think this Dolphins team might be worse than the Jets. Like, I feel like teams have good weeks, teams have bad weeks. I picked the Jets to win last week. I really think that they're going to get that first win.
I think so too.
Any week now. Like, I don't know. I feel like Aaron Glenn's a good coach. Sorry, enough about the Jets, but out of the Dolphins, I think Tua might be one of, if not the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. He's really hasn't played up to the level that he should be. I think that on the Browns end, like, all of these rookies, like, you're looking at a monumental draft class from the Browns, especially if Dylan Gabriel or Shadur Sanders turns into that signal caller that they want. But Quinshon Judkins had 3 scores, which is quite impressive for a rookie running back to do. Obviously backing him up, Dylan Sampson is great with a lot of speed. Carson Schwessinger, their second-round pick at linebacker, has looked awesome this year, probably a Defensive Rookie of the Year favorite. So is the other guy playing next to him, playing on the front 7 with him, and Mason Graham.
Yep.
It's a really impressive defense for the Browns, and I don't know. I think that they could look good next season. Like, this is a team that I've seen a lot to be at least interested in this year. Like it's not like before where it's like, oh, the Browns are on, let's turn it off. Like this is an interesting team to watch now with all of these young players circulating on their offense and their defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, we still have yet to see sort of what Dillon Gabriel can be at his full potential, but I think he's done an okay job of being that game manager that the Browns sort of need him to be at this point. And when you look at the flip side of that game, Miami, I thought for sure, with the couple of people who I was talking to during this game, I actually said it I believe I said it in our family group chat, that I honestly did not think that Mike McDaniel was going to make it through this week without getting fired after that game on Sunday. And the Dolphins came out this week and said, we're sticking with Mike McDaniel, we're sticking with Tua, we're not making any changes, we don't see any changes coming, which is bold considering the fact that you're 1-6.
Is it crazy to say that I don't blame McDaniel? That I feel like he's got come on.
Yeah, I mean, he's got enough of a head case. He's got head cases all over the place with that team. Tua's a disaster.
Throwing 3 interceptions and then going up to the podium and saying that your teammates are at fault for the loss is certainly an interesting take. But
yeah.
That's what you get.
Well,
that's the Tua experience.
Well, where did he play college football, and where do you think that he learned to have a me-first attitude? Alabama.
Wow.
But anyways, one more game before we get to the break here. The Patriots heading down to Nashville. Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel making his return to Tennessee for the first time since being fired by the Titans. And New England, despite a little bit of a slow start to this game, the Patriots take control and win it 31-13. New England is 5-2. They are 4-0. On the road. I know it's only a 1-6 Titans team, but especially a lot of Bills fans are sort of getting worried about this Patriots team, getting worried about Drake May looks really good. Are the Patriots going to be the Patriots? Are they going to turn back into that? In short, no, they're not. And people say, is Drake May the next Tom Brady? In short, no, he's not. But I do think he's pretty good. I do think Drake May is very good. And honestly, I think that the AFC East is going to be, I think it's going to be for the next several years between New England and Buffalo, Jax.
See, I'm all in on New England because you can say what you want about their schedule. They've played these teams that the Bills have played. They've played a lot of teams that the Bills have played, arguably better than the Bills have. Yeah. I mean, they routed the Panthers week 4, that is, 42-13, just demolished the Titans. Had a close one against the Saints, but this is a team that, above everything else, I think that I can say is better coached than Buffalo right now. And that is going to get them over the hump when it comes to the playoffs and when it comes to later in the season. So, it's going to be an interesting season for the AFC East, something that Buffalo fans haven't had to experience in a while.
Do you think New England is going to take the division from Buffalo this year?
It'll be tough. If they lose to Carolina this week, yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to call the division in week 8, but you can't lose to Carolina.
No,
absolutely
I think you absolutely have a point in saying that they're better coached than the Bills right now. I mean,
Mike Vrabel's awesome. Tennessee getting rid of him
Vrabel's
is
a great coach.
Ridiculous.
That was one move that honestly I never understood either.
Doesn't make any sense.
No,
that's the perfect coach. Like he's still a top 10 head. He was a top 10 head coach when he wasn't hired.
And going back to New England, a place where he played for so long. Of course, it was a little bit of a
made
surprise.
Too much sense.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, we're going to take a short break and we're going to recap the rest of last week's action in the NFL. Alongside Jack Hoadley, I'm Matt Volz, and you're watching Sports Hour on WNYF.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
We've been down there. You gotta do the same. All you do is sign. So don't get nervous. Sign your name. For Selective Service. It takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. For Selective Service.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you've got to register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, Selective Service, you gotta get down to the post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service.
Welcome back to Sports Hour on WNYF. I'm now joined by Jenna Polito to talk about the rest of last week's NFL action. And Jenna, we'll start with what was probably the craziest game of the week, the New York Giants and the Denver Broncos. The Broncos putting up 33 points in the fourth quarter to storm back and beat the Giants 33-32 in an incredible game.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, they had us in the first half and in the third quarter and in most of the fourth quarter as well, because all of those 33 points were scored in about the last 5 or so minutes. Yeah, this was crazy because especially me, I have Bo Nix as my quarterback. He was only getting me like 4 points, and then I checked again. He was around almost at 40, so it was just crazy. He himself had 2 rushing touchdowns, I believe, and yeah, they rallied with 33 points or something. The win really came down to the Giants kicker missing that last field goal, which is why the Broncos were able to secure that win. But with that, of course, they moved to 5-2 in the whole division. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, just an insane game. I mean, just to give you a little bit more insight on that game, the Giants were up 19-0 heading into the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, with just over 5 minutes to go, it was 26-8 in favor of the Giants. The Broncos come back to take a 30-26 lead with just under 2 minutes to play. The Giants drive down the field, and Jackson Dart scores a 1-yard touchdown with 37 seconds left. And again, as you mentioned, Giants rookie kicker missing the extra point to give the Giants only a 2-point lead. Broncos are able to use the remaining 37 seconds to drive down the field, and Will Lutz nails a 39-yard field goal for the win. Broncos 33, Giants 32. Denver is 5-2. The Giants drop to 2-5. Giants have not won a game on the road this season. They are 0-4 away from MetLife Stadium.
And I mean, it definitely is unfortunate, but a lot of this game with the Giants can kind of be contributed to their head coach, Brian Daboll, who, of course, was the Bills' offensive coordinator for some time. It was just some bad play calling. And I mean, yeah, the Giants 2-5, not looking that good, especially with Malik Neighbors out now. So
yeah, definitely
that's
just
not going well.
Yeah, just a rough game for the Giants to lose, and these are the sort of games that you saw Jackson Dart's expression at the end of the game. And it's a heartbreaking loss for a rookie, but it can also be a humbling loss. I mean, the Bills lost several games Josh Allen's rookie year that were just miserable losses. And this is something that the young rookie can certainly build off of. Speaking of the New Jersey football teams that play their home games at MetLife Stadium, the New York Jets are off to quite the rough start this season. It looked like maybe the Jets could come away with their first win of the year, a solid performance from their defense against Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. Not to be. Carolina wins it 13-6 despite starting quarterback Bryce Young leaving with a high ankle sprain. He will miss Sunday's game against the Bills. Carolina improves to 4-3. The Jets 0-7, the last remaining winless team in the NFL, Jenna.
Yeah, I mean, There isn't really much to go off of on this game.
No.
Kind of, again, a little bit of a snooze fest, but
Yeah.
the New York Jets being 0-7 is definitely not the way that any team, especially, I mean, even the New York Jets would want to.
Yeah.
We are almost tied with the Buffalo Sabres for the longest playoff drought with them. But yeah, I mean, after they benched Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor was intercepted, I believe, like twice.
Yeah.
So it's not a good looking game, not really.
No, and you have to wonder as a Jets fan when that first win is going to come. I think in some of those 7 losses, they've had games where they haven't really played too bad. They just haven't been able to come away with the win. But again, the Jets 0-7, still looking for that first win of the season.
I mean, honestly, too, their schedule, just looking at it now, it looks pretty decent. They don't have a super easy, but also not a super hard schedule. They play the Bengals next. But then you have some teams like the Browns, I mean, the Patriots, who are on the rise, as you and Jack were just talking about. So yeah, it could go either way. But yeah, looking for that last win.
Yeah, I will say I did pick the Jets to win this week. I did pick them to beat the Bengals. I did. I think that, I mean, I don't think they're going to go 0-17. I could be wrong, but again, I think that they've had some games where they haven't really looked too bad, and I honestly think that the Bengals are a team that even though they beat Pittsburgh last week, they're still not where they want to be. The Bengals still do not have a very good defense. It's the perfect opportunity for a Jets offense that is really looking to get back on track, and I think they do that this week. Well, one team in the AFC who is off to a way better start than any of us predicted are Trevor Hauer's Indianapolis Colts, who are off to a 6-1 start after a 38-24 win over the Chargers in LA, despite Justin Herbert throwing for 420 yards, a career high, and 3 touchdown passes. Jonathan Taylor, my fantasy running back, rushes for 3 touchdowns as the Colts win it, and they are 6-1 on the season. Jenna, how surprising is it the fact that we're going into week 8 and the Indianapolis Colts are the best team in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you told me that, I probably wouldn't believe you unless I saw this, especially considering, again, Daniel Jones, especially not that great on the New York Giants. But this game has just been insane. I mean, Justin Herbert did put up quite an impressive game, and 420 passing yards, although he did have 2 interceptions, 3 touchdowns for him. But Daniel Jones is just knocking it out of the park. I would even put him in my top 10 as far as the season has gone so far.
I
I
absolutely agree. So far this year, he's been excellent. Another team who is experiencing some quarterback question marks right now is the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, quarterback Kyler Murray still out with an injury. Jacoby Brissett started for them on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers and actually played somewhat well. The Packers had to come back to win this game, but they do beat Arizona 27-23 out in the desert. 2 touchdown catches for Trey McBride. Cardinals are 2-5, but they played a good game against a good team.
Yeah, I think this was a pretty good game, especially considering, the Green Bay Packers getting into Arizona had a little bit of some trouble on the tarmac. I think they were stuck there for several hours. But, I mean, both Josh Jacobs and Micah Parsons, they had a great game. Jacobs had a 1-yard touchdown with only like 2 minutes left, from what I remember. And then, of course, Micah Parsons with 3 sacks on the Cardinals. Honestly, I think this was a pretty good game. This was a very evenly matched game, especially considering this week and just how things have been going. But,
well, we are running low on time. We'll talk about one more game before we get to break and talk about hockey. The Detroit Lions taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the first half of last week's Monday Night Football doubleheader. The Bucs entered that game at 5-1 in first place in the NFC. The Lions were 4-2, and this game was not particularly close. The Lions in command. They win it 24-9. A great game for Jahmyr Gibbs on the ground. And for Tampa Bay, a rough performance after an excellent start to the year.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, Baker Mayfield has been looking pretty decent, but again, looking at that score, Detroit was pretty consistent throughout the game. You know, touchdown in the first 3 quarters, and then that field goal to end it off. But yeah, I mean, he had 1 interception. He did have a touchdown in the night, but other than that, you know, the Buccaneers just weren't looking that great. But again, if we're gonna go back to the Lions, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, although this wasn't his game, he's one of my favorite wide receivers this season. He has been, but
yeah, he's been fantastic. And again, you know, Detroit was a team that going into this year, they lost both coordinators, as offensive coordinator Ben Johnson became the head coach of the Chicago Bears, and their defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn went to coach the New York Jets. But it's a Detroit team that they've kind of almost picked up right where they left off after a little bit of a tiny bit of a slow start.
yeah, I would say so, definitely. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, as we said, had a great game, especially.
Yeah.
They had to give him the oxygen mask after he had this 78-yard run. I mean, that's how you know.
Yeah.
That's how you know things are going well.
Yeah, an excellent game for Jahmyr Gibbs. The Lions 5-2. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Jenna will still be here at the desk with me to talk about the NHL. Sabres coming off of a big win from last night and a big series this weekend, home and home, with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So thanks for tuning in to our spooky Halloween episode of Sports Hour on WNYF. We'll be right back.
This one's for the real ballers and shot callers, the Sisterhood of Women in Tech. They're discovering cures, building apps, and programming the blockchain. They're CEOs, worldwide hustlers who can make it rain. They're tearing down the old boys club and seeing big gains. Because when women in tech come together, you know they make that change.
Every day.
Millions of people are connecting.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together,
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an effort
to get to know each other
on a deeper level. Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes.
Make a plan today.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back to Sports Hour on WNYF. I'm Matt Volt, still alongside Jenna Polito. And the Buffalo Sabres have won a game. They've actually won a couple of games and not off to the worst of starts either.
Hey, I'm just as surprised that I think all of Buffalo actually is. You know, starting off not that great. We only had two goals in our first 3 games, of course, with that 4-0 loss against the Rangers as our season opener. But then after that, we had this massive win against the Senators, 8-4. And I feel like that momentum just kind of kept along as we played the Panthers next, and it was 3-0. So we have just been pretty, after a rough start, we've been pretty consistent with the goal scoring. And yeah, I'm very pleased with how things have been going so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So the game last night, the Sabres at home against the Detroit Red Wings. Buffalo going into it, of course, the goaltending has been somewhat of a wild card so far this season with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen out injured up until this point. He was recalled to the NHL club
Did just see
today,
that, yes.
so we'll see if he plays in either of the two games against Toronto this weekend. But the Sabres, after starting Alex Lyon free agent signing through the first several games and him playing pretty solid hockey, the Sabres turned to Colton Ellis, a youngster who they had claimed off waivers from the St. Louis Blues for their game last night. Ellis stops 29 of 31 Detroit shots in the win, earning the game's first star. And another player who was absolutely stellar for Buffalo last night, Jack Quinn. And we've been waiting for Jack Quinn to sort of unlock that consistency to his offense. We remember a couple of seasons ago, Quinn dealt with some injury. He only played 27 games. In those 27 games, I believe he put up something like 20 points. So you knew the offensive consistency and the offensive quality was there. Last year, he played most of the year, really didn't shine offensively all that much. In this game, he was dynamic for Buffalo, and it didn't matter who he was on a line with. He had an assist on goals by both Jason Zucker and Tyson Kozak. He was playing with Noah Ostlund, who does not have much NHL experience, and no matter who he was on the ice with last night, Quinn was great. He was fantastic, Jenna.
Yeah, I feel like for the past few seasons, it has seemed that Quinn has been pretty prone to injuries, especially, or at least he is not performing at the level that I think we all want to. Now, in my opinion, part of those injuries and part of him probably just is a little bit like scared to fully go for it, or at least from what I'm seeing. So that was great, especially same score, just winner and loser reverse from our game against the Montreal Canadiens, which was right before that. And again, we're playing another Canadian team on Friday. Large rival, Toronto Maple Leafs. Of course, it's going to be at home, but that means it's going to be a Toronto home game. So that'll be fun. But one game that really did stand out that I would like to bring up is the Panthers game where we shut them out 3-0, especially talking about a little bit of the action in that game with Brad Marchand, of course, getting into a little bit of a fight with Rasmus Dahlin. That was fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the fact that the Sabres can play that well against that quality of opponent, you're talking about the team that has won the last 2 Stanley Cups. This weekend's games are crucially important for Buffalo. A Friday and Saturday home-and-home series with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the start times of these games were changed because, of course, the Toronto Blue Jays are in the World Series, and they're going to be playing Games 1 and 2 of the World Series at home against the LA Dodgers on Friday and Saturday night. Sabres at home against Toronto at 7 p.m. on Friday night and in Toronto at 5 o'clock on Saturday. I heard somebody say on social media that because of this, the Blue Jays World Series, it's possible we could see one of the lowest pro-Toronto crowds in Buffalo that we've ever seen for a Leafs-Sabres game.
You know, I didn't even actually think about that. I'm assuming when all of the tickets came out for the Sabres, that's when a lot of the Leafs fans went and got them. But yeah, we could be seeing a lot of resale, tickets, especially after the first few games. Tickets had been very exponentially low. I think the cheapest I saw was like $850 for the 300 levels. But that will definitely be a little bit of a curve, especially considering you know, all of the Toronto games that have been in the past and how it looks in there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that this is a real opportunity for the Sabres to put themselves to the test against a high-quality opponent. The shutout win over Florida was fantastic. Now you've got a back-to-back series against one of your biggest rivals, and not saying that you expect the Sabres to come out and, you know, win both games 8-4 like they beat Ottawa last week. But if the Sabres can put together 2 solid games, I mean, I think you're looking at this season in an entirely different way than we were looking at it when the Sabres started 0-3 and had only scored 2 goals total across their first 3 games. The offense seems to have really unlocked something across the last couple of games. I mean, you talk about the 8-goal outburst against Ottawa, or putting up 4 against Detroit last night, or some of the other games, like they had 3 against Florida. So I think as long as the offense continues to fire, and as part of that, the Sabres power play really has to continue to shine. They did get a power play goal from Jack Quinn in the win last night, but that power play really has got to continue to improve.
Yeah, I think especially another thing that really has to improve, or that we need to keep working on, the Sabres and how they play at home versus on the road. Right now, they're currently 0-2 when they're on the road. Of course, our next game will be at home, and then we'll see the game in Toronto. Yeah. So it's definitely we're gonna have to monitor that, especially. And from what I've been seeing, or at least from what it looks like, a lot of the younger players seem to be developing a little more, and it's less, like the veterans like Tuck and Rasmus Dahlin and everyone that we're relying on. And it's really, you're seeing these young guys just step up, especially on the offense, like you mentioned, Jack Quinn, Zach Benson.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the Sabres need to see, is they need to see that consistency in secondary scoring and really get everyone firing on all cylinders and on the same page. Yep. And we'll see where this team goes, and if we can maybe end our playoff drought that's tied for the Jets.
Maybe.
With the Jets for the longest in North America.
Let's hope.
Well, we're going to take a short break. Thanks, Jenna, for joining me. When we come back, we're going to be bringing on Sam Fox to talk about Formula One. I'm Matt Volz, and you're watching Sports Hour on WNIF.
When you think of the local lowdown, what do you think of?
Well, when I think of the local lowdown, it's the live music that we have played in the studio.
It's got to be the laughs we shared. The memorable moments during the whole thing. Oh my God, so fun.
The local lowdown for me is the people behind the scenes, the amazing team that we have making the show.
Oh, it's got to be exploring all sorts of genres and music I've never heard before.
Oh, easy. Going out to shows and talking to artists and getting the latest news on what they have planned for the future.
It's about these artists, man. Giving them a platform to showcase what they've worked so hard on and show their music to the community. It's all about supporting the local scene of music to keep it running for years to come. And of course, the band merch. You can't forget about the merch.
We've been down there. You gotta do the same. Post office, all you do is sign. So don't get nervous. Sign your name. Selective service. It takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective service.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you've got to register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, Selective Service, you gotta get down to the post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service.
Welcome back to Sports Hour on WNYF. I'm Matt Volz. For the final segment of our show tonight, I'm joined by Sam Fox to talk about Formula One. And one of the big stories in Formula One is the hot streak of Max Verstappen, who has now won 3 of the last 4 races, Sam, really tightening up that Drivers' Championship.
He really has been. He has just been, honestly, just taking over the track, which is great. I'm a McLaren fan through and through, but when it comes down to it, seeing Max win fair and square compared to like last year where he was, or not last year, the other year, where he was just absolutely blowing through the competition and winning almost every race except for Sergio Perez taking like 2 or 3. It is great to see this actual battle from Max Verstappen, having been lower in the field in the in the season, to now finally taking first for 3 races and just putting it to McLaren and having them actually race for the drivers title. Both Lando and Oscar having to battle for that title against Max. George Russell is also putting up a good fight. He hasn't been winning as many races as like you would hope he should, but he is still in contention for the Drivers' Championship, which is great if you're a Mercedes fan and hoping for another huge win for Mercedes, despite it being like I think 4 years since Mercedes has gotten anything close to that, ever since Lewis Hamilton lost to Max Verstappen. That one, I think it was 2021.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we mentioned when one of the last times that we were on the show, we kind of talked about how it looked like the Drivers' Championship was sort of becoming a 2-driver showdown between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. That's kind of changed over the last couple of weeks, especially with the hot streak that Max Verstappen has been on, and George Russell certainly not out of it. Between those top 4, Oscar Piastri currently in the lead, with Lando Norris very close behind in second, and Max Verstappen pretty close to Lando for third. So it's a championship race that, you know, there's still a handful of races left, and you know there's still 5 races left on the schedule, and with Verstappen continuing his hot streak, this could get very interesting.
This could get very interesting. I'm very excited to see how this one ends. Honestly, it's crazy seeing the change from the beginning of the year when Lando and Oscar were dominating the field, with Max Verstappen occasionally coming in and showing that he still could fight for the Drivers' Championship, to now genuinely fighting for this championship win, taking the double win away from McLaren. It's really such a fun watch to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned before coming on here, you talked about a little bit of an incident that happened in the race between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. So can you kind of go into detail about that?
So last weekend we had the Austin Grand Prix, which the Austin Grand Prix was this year a sprint race, which just meant they had a smaller race on Saturday as well as qualifying, and then the actual race on Sunday. The sprint race went kind of crazy. The first corner of the first lap, we lost about 3 drivers, with Oscar Piastri turning into Nico Hülkenberg at the first corner, causing him to get lifted and hit Lando, and Nico Hülkenberg to take out Fernando Alonso as well. Surprisingly enough, Nico Hülkenberg managed to survive throughout the whole race after that incident, having lost his front wing. Despite having lost his front wing, I think he just went and pitted and got a new front wing and then just continued the race, which is impressive, as honestly, seeing as it took out 3 other drivers. With the crazy thing that I was talking about was the fact that Oscar had ended up trying to blame this entire incident on Nico Hülkenberg, despite the fact that obviously in the first lap all of the cars are crowded. Despite, even if the corner is narrow, no matter what's going to happen, something's bound to happen, with everybody trying to make this turn and stay on the line, but also get ahead of people. Nico was taking the corner a bit short, and Oscar trying to get ahead of Lando because Oscar had qualified 3rd, where Lando had qualified 2nd. Oscar was trying to get ahead and stay ahead of Lando, but instead he ended up turning kind of late, which caused Nico Hülkenberg, who was turning the corner sharp, to hit Oscar to hit, or Nico Hülkenberg to hit Oscar going in the air and taking out Lando. And it was just a crazy thing to watch happen. And then weirdly enough, later on in the race, we lost more people, with Esteban Ocon having been taken out by... Who is the other driver? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name.
You're good.
Lance Stroll, there we go.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Lance Stroll ended up taking Esteban Ocon out in the same corner about 16 laps later, just absolutely decking Esteban Ocon and taking them both out of the race permanently.
Yeah, so that's the sort of thing that sort of, you know, whether it's aggressive driving or whatever it is, that's the sort of thing that can not be received so well by other drivers. So the fact that you've got Piastri, who is right now in the lead in the Drivers' Championship, with still 5 races to go, some of those drivers might not be the happiest, and it might not be the smartest move for Piastri to put such a target on his back when he's gunning for a championship and he hasn't won since the end of August. You know, I kind of worry, Sam, I kind of wonder if there's going to be a major target on Piastri's back the rest of the season.
There's a major target already on his back, having him be the top driver in the championship. There's no matter what's going on, no matter if you're first or second, you are going to have that target on your back. McLaren had it because they were the top 2 drivers and leading the constructors. So people were gunning for McLaren, trying to take away the top spots during the races from them. Speaking of the race, obviously we had the race this weekend, not just a sprint. Max qualified in pole, Lando in second, and Charles in third. That's how the race ended, but Charles had managed to take second away from Lando for a hot while until Charles had started on softs and changed to mediums, causing there to be a tire difference, which just means that Lando had more of an opportunity to take back second from Charles later on because Charles had pitted so early compared to Lando. So Charles was trying to defend against McLaren's very fast car, trying to keep second and just get the points that they need for, I think, second or third in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari is out of the Drivers' Championship. None of them are getting in there. But they're still in contention for the top 3 of the Constructors, I believe. So Lando is trying to get second back from Charles, and Charles in the slow Ferrari, because Ferrari has not been doing good this year, is just doing a great job of just defending hard against Lando. Eventually, Lando did get second back, and we ended the race Max in first, Lando second, Charles third. But seeing Ferrari improving a little bit in being able to fend off McLaren is honestly a great thing to see happen. Shows that Ferrari maybe next season may have a chance of being better. Ferrari, sometimes it's a hit or miss with them. Sometimes you never know whether or not they'll actually be good in the season. You always root for a team. That's the fun of it. You never really know when it comes to Formula One.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll take a look at the Constructors' Championship standings. I mean, McLaren just absolutely running away with the top spot. But it's really interesting that 2, 3, and 4 are all pretty close, with Mercedes in second, Ferrari third, and Red Bull fourth. And there's 5 races still left to sort of shake this out. I know nobody's probably going to threaten McLaren for the championship.
McLaren has already won it. McLaren won the championship. They have that title. That is set and done.
Yeah.
Second and third are still in battle, of course.
Yeah, it's going to be an excellent battle. And again, of course, the race coming up this weekend, I believe down in Mexico this weekend.
Mexico City.
That's going to be a good one. And again, 4 races left after that one. Well, that'll do it for tonight's episode of Sports Hour. Thanks, Sam, for talking Formula One. As always, want to give a quick shout out to station alum Brock Papke, who is currently watching Sports Hour on an airplane. Thanks for tuning in, Brock. And that'll do it for our show tonight. Thanks to everyone watching at home, as well as everyone who is here in the station making this show possible. And from all of us at WNYF, I'm Matt Volz. Good night.